Every child is born with the same brain architecture. They all have the capacity to succeed and enter kindergarten with a brain built ready for learning. The more words and language a child experiences in early childhood, the greater number of connections they make from one neuron to another. The neuron on the left illustrates the chemical activity that takes place as an infant responds to adult interaction. Infants' brains grow rapidly. As children age, building these critical connections becomes more difficult. By age 4, a child's brain starts to become more adult-like and far less pliable. About 90% of brain development occurs before age 5. Long before children enter a classroom, their neuron building days are diminishing. In fact, as a child enters puberty, their brain begins pruning the neurons that did not form solid connections during childhood. Unfortunately, once a brain cell has been pruned, it is gone forever. Researchers have defined the times when children form brain connections specific to language skills. They also identified the time when a window of opportunity ends. It is clear that the experiences a child has before they enter the classroom are significant in predicting school achievement. In a 1995 landmark study, Todd Risley and Betty Hart recorded the number of words young children heard. A child from a middle-class family heard, on average, 45 million words in 1 year. A child from a lower-income family heard only 13 million words in a year. As the years pass, the vocabulary gap grows exponentially. A child from a lower-income family is likely to start kindergarten 160 million words behind a classmate from a wealthier family. The strongest of kindergarten teachers cannot overcome a word deficit this large. Newer research documented the vocabulary gap in children as young as 7 months of age. Using brain scans, scientists study the changes that happen in a baby's brain as they hear words. Scientists watched children process the words used to describe different colored lollipops. They watched as the children's eyes moved from one color to another, and studied how quickly the children's eyes would track back to the flavored lollipop a child had previously favored. Even babies of a very young age are able to understand the language they hear daily. Reading out loud is the #1 way to expose young children to as many words as possible. Children who are read to regularly and have been exposed to more words are ready to become readers. Children's picture books are filled with new vocabulary. Read those rare words to your child. They will learn their meaning through the story. Kindergartners who enter school with more time spent listening to books are the most likely to be high achievers. It is not surprising that wealthier families spend more time reading to their children. It is surprising to see that our county falls so far behind the state and national averages when it comes to reading to our young children. Children who enter kindergarten without exposure to books and language are unlikely to overcome that deficiency. If children are poor readers in the 1st grade, there is a 90% probability that they will be a poor reader in the 4th grade. Children who are prepared for kindergarten and are ready to read are far more likely to be the students who read at grade level throughout their school career. They have the greatest likelihood for college attendance. Academic success goes a long way in guaranteeing future financial stability. But children who struggle in kindergarten and the early grades are least likely to obtain a high school diploma. Young adults without diplomas are the most likely to become pregnant, incarcerated, or reliant on public assistance. Early reading ability is such a stable predictor of the future that California once used the results of 4th grade reading tests to determine how many jail cells to build. The stakes for our children have gotten higher. Most adults attended a school system where they played in kindergarten and learned to read in grades 1, 2, and 3. Now, children need to be reading as they enter 1st grade and read well enough to know what they're reading. If they are not reading at grade level, based on their standardized test scores, by 3rd grade, the consequence in Ohio is mandatory retention. Libraries have always felt passionate about building early literacy skills in their story times. The American Library Association has publicized the early language skills children need to succeed in kindergarten and suggested the best practices through which they gain those critical skills with every child ready to read. If children do not gain the 4 skills on the left by the time they enter kindergarten, it is unlikely they ever will. The skills on the right are gained throughout our lives. The best ways to expose children to words is through talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing with them. We know reading is by far the #1 way to prepare children for success. Read to them every day. It's that simple.